There it is.
Very good. Hi, Kim. I'm Les. Tell me what's on your mind tonight. What would you like to talk about?
Hi. I just, I guess I'll give you some backstory, because
Mhm.
it's a little weird, but um, during COVID time, my mom got into some conspiracy theories um that have really caused a lot of disruption in our family. Um, where it's it got to the point where it's just like I don't know how to connect to her anymore because literally anything that I say is like countered with, well, you know that someone bad or someone that did this works for that company, or that product that you're using, someone bad for works for that company. So I don't it's been frustrating because everyone in my family has had this same experience where it's like we can't really talk to her anymore, where I used to be really close with her, but now, I mean, I just have to be very closed off. So it's gotten to the point where now my parents are getting divorced, um, because my dad is having that same struggle that, me and my siblings are having, where there's just like zero connection because everything is a negative, and it's like she's fighting for this like bigger cause that she's become really passionate about, but has kind of left us behind because if we don't think the same way, or if we don't validate her feelings with these kind of extreme thoughts, um then she'll just get mad at us. It's really been a sad experience to watch her. Like she used to be very kind and like loving, and now it's like a very angry, scared, um and fearful, and yet we're the problem, and that's so it's been really hard with now my parents getting divorced because it's dealing with that loss of relationship with my mom, but also the dissolving of the family that I've known my whole life.
Feeling closed off, sad, disappointed. Tell me more.
Yeah. I think, I mean, lately, the big thing now is I've gotten to a point where I like know some limits and boundaries with my mom and like what I can say and can't say. Still really sad for me. But what is really weighing on me a lot is just the separation of my parents, where I feel a lot of pressure, given that I am the single kid left, and all of the other siblings are married and have families. So they kind of have their families to take care of, and they'll be a little bit involved in what's going on, but then go back and kind of retreat. Where I feel like my parents have both kind of attached to me in like unhealthy ways and are trying to get me to side with them. And my dad is much more understanding. Um he respects boundaries, and he'll still like will cross some things and I'll have to reset a boundary, but my mom, like every conversation I have with her is just so frustrating, and I leave feeling sad.
Feeling that weight of both parents relying on you, looking to you, um, and yet that overwhelming sadness of losing what you know as your parents, the family.
Yeah, exactly. Like there really is this big weight that I feel like I'm carrying of like trying to help both my parents with this, but it's like also not my role. I care so deeply, but I know that it's not my role to be the sole support for my parents. So it's creating this conflict and like this extra weight on my shoulders where I feel bad saying no to things with them or saying no to certain conversations or topics because I don't want to get in the middle of their their stuff.
So some muddied boundaries, maybe?
Yeah, for sure. Um, yeah, like I said, with my dad is better at that. He's uh, been really kind about the whole thing, and I mean, he's the one that decided to separate from my mom. So it's just a different dynamic there. Um, but my mom is just crossing boundaries all the time. Like I get to the point where it's like I get so anxious when I see her name on my caller ID. I just like tense up because I know that that's going to be an emotionally draining um, phone call, and I just there's sometimes where I can't deal with that where I'm already trying to like support my siblings through this, and I have friends that are going through hard things, and I'm in school again, and like all these other responsibilities, yet I feel like I'm having to be a parent for my mom.
A parent for your mom. Say more about
Yeah.
that.
I just feel like I'm carrying her emotions in a lot of ways. She has cut off so many people in her life due to these extreme views and lack of empathy that I mean, it really has torn her whole extended family apart, our whole extended family apart, where everyone's frustrated at her. And yet, they're all the problem. Um, but yeah, I don't know. It's frustrating because she's the one that has distanced herself or, done things to distance herself from everyone else. But yet she's the victim, she's playing that role. And so every conversation is just like, well, they said this and like they did this to me, and then now it's like, oh, your dad left me and your dad did this, your dad did that. And um it's just like I want to talk about other things. Like I'm happy to sit and support, but like I don't want to just have her sit there and like bag on other people because I mean, and obviously it's hard because I'm like, well, no, duh, like you're the one you're the one causing all this problem, these problems. But like I've tried saying that in different ways, and she just doesn't seem to grasp it. She's so far, you know, gone, I think, that she just doesn't seem to grasp the impact that she's having on other people.
You're really feeling the weight of, especially that relationship with your mom, um, and maybe feeling intruded on a little bit when you see her calling, knowing it's going to take you down a dark path.
Yeah, exactly. It's just for seriously, it just like my whole body gets tense when I see her name on caller ID. So I've gotten to the point where I won't answer some of the times. But then there's this sense of guilt of like, oh, like she's so lonely. And I feel like I'm in a hard spot because, I've gone through therapy. I've done a lot of things. I'm more I'm better at boundaries and emotional, you know, regulation. And she is not. She just kind of, I don't know. It's so complicated where I feel like it's yeah, there's this weight for me to help regulate her and be her um emotional support, where I wish that she had other people that she could rely on, but she's too stubborn to make amends with other people or reach out to new people. And So yeah, it's just this weight of like, oh my gosh, like yes, like I love you and I want to help you, but I can't. You're so overwhelming right now because you're not taking accountability for anything. Um, that it's yeah, it's just so heavy.
Feeling like you really want to help, but you're not sure if you're the best person or you have it in you, and you'd like others to kind of help
Yeah,
be that release for you as well.
absolutely. I feel like, I mean, my siblings try, but also like there's a lot of anger, I think, at both parents. And I feel like I'm the one, like I said, I'm a little more like emotionally regulated and try to see different perspectives a little better rather than just like taking one piece of information and taking a side. Um, where yeah, the other siblings are a little more biased. So it's like I feel the weight of like trying to be the peacemaker and I'm upset with how things have turned out. And that my dad had to get to a point where he filed for divorce. But also like I agree with him because of my mom's lack of empathy and lack of acknowledgement of wrongdoing, where my siblings, most of them are more like, well, couldn't dad have just tried a little harder or done this? But I mean, it's been years of this same cycle. And then also then I'm on my mom's side, right? And feeling this weight of loneliness that she's feeling and recognizing that because there's a few siblings that are, super angry at her and taking my dad's side, where it's like I'm trying to be like this middleman and just see both perspectives and acknowledging that neither parent is perfect and that this situation just really sucks.
Tell me more about your dad's role and his efforts and how that has impacted you and your siblings.
Yeah, I think for me, like I said, I can kind of understand. I do think I understand a lot of where he's coming from. Like I've seen
Mhm.
these negative behaviors. Like my mom treats him worse than she treats anyone else,
Mhm.
and just kind of attacks him, and he just doesn't feel like he's ever doing anything right because of the way that yeah. Um, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I can just see that perspective and I think he's trying his best. I think he needs freedom. Um, he's just felt trapped for so long and and he did tell me that. He just said like I really need to be free. And
Mhm.
I mean that brought me to tears because I mean that's hard to hear that your dad feels trapped with your mom. But at the same time it's like I kind of feel trapped. So I can imagine that you feel way more trapped um than I do because it's a romantic partner, it's your life partner. And if there's literally no alignment, then, you know, like what is the point?
Hmm. You feel a connection with your dad.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like his character has been really true and sturdy throughout. Like he hasn't done everything perfect. He's made mistakes, but he has absolutely tried, and I genuinely believe that he's tried the best that he can, given the circumstances. And like he's just all I've just seen my whole life, and like I was reflecting yesterday on like it wasn't just these last couple years since COVID. It's like kind of been my whole life where I think he's just felt underappreciated. And like, because I've seen him make bids for attention and connection from my mom that have just kind of been rejected. And I didn't necessarily see it, I don't know, I didn't see it as that big of a deal with some of them. But now, you know, him talking about being free from her and just not feeling appreciated or feeling like he can't do anything right, I kind of like, oh wow, like this has, it's not just the last couple of years. It's like you've tried so hard for, 30 plus years and then like it's made it 10 times worse given the wild conspiracy theories and things that are happening now with my mom.
Talked about some anger that was your what your mom is doing is makes you angry. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Um, it really just makes me so angry. Like I said, I've gone through like different phases of anger, I think, of just, why can't you just like go back to the way you were, where you were a little nicer? And now it's anger of just like, why can't you just take accountability? Why can't you just, you know, or even if not that, why can't you reach out to other people for support? Just you know, take control of your life a little bit and stop being a victim. And like, there's part of me that feels really bad for saying that because it's like, I do think, like, I've played with, like, maybe she has some kind of mood disorder where it's that really is the best that she can do. So I feel bad being like angry, but I am.
Feeling bad about feeling angry.
Yeah.
Say more about that.
Um, I mean, she's my mom, and like I said, I mean, if she did have some kind of disorder, that might be the best that she can give. And and the best for that she can give just for us, it's like obviously we don't feel like she's like meeting our expectations as a mom and stuff. But I don't know, I'm trying to see her side. So if I feel um bad saying anything negative because I mean she has done a lot for me and I love her. Um, but I mean she is a big reason for our family, falling apart. And it's like I think it ties in like there's just a lot of pressure also, not only from her trying to depend on me and then trying to balance stuff with my dad, but also like I feel a little lonely in this because like I said, all my other siblings are married. And so we used to have family dinner every Sunday and I had a place to go home and be. Um, but now it's so complicated trying to juggle both sides, my mom and my dad, and just like it's just awkward now. So it's just put me into a really lonely place.
As you share with me, I'm feeling for myself that sense of loneliness and um, kind of powerlessness. You've tried so many things. You care deeply for both of your parents. You wish that you could go back to the dream of having mom and dad and siblings and um, just kind of you've poured yourself into the relationship with both of them, and yet you're still feeling this weight of um, on the one hand, your mom is seeking support from you, and your siblings see you as kind of the healer. Um, and that's a lot for one person to carry.
Yeah, yeah. It's it really has been a lot. And, like I said, added on with, school and work and other friends going through things. It is a lot.
How, as you reflect back uh, on this time since the announced divorce, and also kind of going back to when your mom kind of has tailspun, um, how um, what are some ways that you've cared for yourself and um, kind of brought things to a brighter light? Are there times when you say, I'm making some progress, or I feel um, like this helped you feel not so lonely or not so much burdened by the weight of all of this?
I think that's a good question. I feel like I don't have time to do much for myself. Like it's family, there's just so many obligations and, you know, I am just constantly stressed and it makes it so it's harder to sleep at night or even get to sleep at a decent time where I can have enough sleep. And so I don't know if I am balancing it very well and I'm just tired.
When was the last time you had a good night's sleep?
It's probably been a couple weeks. Yeah, like it's just there's always something to think about. There's always, it's just a lot of emotions going through my mind all the time. And I guess, I guess I did decide the other day with one of my best friends that I do want to, like going back to your question, um, to schedule some time for fun, like be intentional about that. I forgot because I haven't actually had any of those experiences yet, but we have scheduled a few like hangouts with different friend groups so that I can just laugh a little bit. I have some funny friends, so just being intentional about who I'm hanging out with and actually taking the time to hang out because I feel like, I mean, I just haven't I haven't done that. I don't laugh very much. I'm tired when I'm home. I'm trying to get things done homework wise, and then I'm trying to sleep where I haven't been just relaxed with people. If I'm with other people, it's more like we're talking about heavy problems. And so I think like just continuing with that intentionality of setting things up could be really helpful.
So if I hear what you're saying, a goal for you is to have a time, however short or long, where you can forget these things and just relax and enjoy time with friends or whomever, to intentionally take that time to enjoy life again.
Yeah, exactly. I need that. I need laughter. I need humor. Everything has just felt so heavy where yeah, I mean being older, like I feel like I've gotten so much older in the last couple of years. Uh just given the heaviness of life, I'm like, is this what, being an older adult is? Um, yeah, just yeah, you don't have time for as many things. Where a couple years ago, I felt like I was having fun all the time. Um, there were heavy things back then too, but I was able to like let loose a little more. And now I just feel like, I don't have time for that. So yeah, I think I just need to be more intentional about scheduling those things with friends.
Mhm. Say more about that.
I think like I said, just like I need laughter. I need like I think that really is like a must have for me to feel uh okay about life. Like if I'm not laughing every once in a while, then it just feels so dark and gloomy and like less hopeful. Like even just a little laughter every once in a while can like reignite hope. Um, and so yeah, I want to feel hopeful again where I really haven't. It's been and I mean, I guess thinking about it now, like not even just hope, but I talked about feeling lonely, so being intentional about um those hanging out with different people will help that as well.
So you're craving hope, you're craving setting aside loneliness, you're craving joy.
Exactly. Yeah. I think you know that I don't feel like I've felt much joy lately. Um, and I mean, other people I think see me as a pretty joyful person, someone that they can go to, but like I just feel a little bit like I'm crumbling right now and don't actually feel like other people perceive me. And I think that creates some of that loneliness of if I don't feel authentic and I don't yeah, it's been a weird feeling. And I think like along the lines of the loneliness, I mean, all of this happened. It's been a little complicated because I lived in the same place for 5 years. And I built this great social network to the point where I didn't really have to try that hard socially. I just like I knew there was something going on over here with this group of friends. And then last month I moved into my grandparents' basement apartment with the goal to kind of be helpers for them because they're getting really old. But then I'd have my own space because it's a separate apartment. And I moved in with one of my good friends. So that's been good. But um it's still I think she's also feeling the loneliness too of just like the loss of that easy connection that we had, given that we lived in the other area for 5 years and then coming here um and just kind of having to start over. And then right after that, my parents are getting divorced. So it's like I lost that whole social structure of and community that I was in, came here, and then, the divorce started to happen. It's like, what the heck? Like, why did I feel guided to be here when um this was going to happen? And I mean, to make it worse, it's just my dad's parents. So he moved in upstairs when my parents decided to get divorced. And so, I mean, there's still separation because it's a separate basement apartment, but it's been kind of hard to balance that dynamic with my parents where I don't want my mom to feel like I'm spending a lot of time with my dad because I'm not. I've set very solid boundaries where even though he lives upstairs, he has to call when he's coming over and like he can't just surprise visit. But yeah, I think it's just a sense of like, what the heck? Why is all of this? Why did this have to happen now when I've lost my connection and network in friends, and now I'm losing that connection with family due to just the separation of my parents.
Feel like life's kind of crumbling around you in a lot of aspects.
Yeah, exactly. It's it's just I feel like it's hitting all at once where I was doing great for a few years. Um, was really loving life for the most part. Still lonely because I'm not married and that's my biggest desire. But um yeah, it's just everything at once is going downhill and I feel it in my shoulders. I that's where I hold a lot of my stress is here. Um, and that impacts me a lot too, where um, I mean, it's hard to work when your shoulders are feeling so heavy. So I dread that now too, where I can't work as well as I used to.
So you're feeling symptoms of the loneliness in your body
Yeah, yeah. It's
and the weight.
yeah, it really feels like I'm like carrying a backpack of rocks all the time. And like even when I'm trying to sleep, it's like there's this backpack hanging beneath the bed. It's just like pulling me down so I can't get comfortable. And um yeah, it's affecting a lot of things.
In what ways do you empty the backpack?
Um, that is a great question. I feel like I've been adding to the backpack more than emptying it. Um, so I think what we talked about with like friends and being intentional about hanging out with friends, um, can be a source of emptying some of the backpack. Um, but also maybe I should get a massage because it hurts.
Has that helped you in the past?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it helps. I mean, it doesn't alleviate it fully, but it at least gets to a point where it's more manageable. Um, it doesn't feel as heavy once I get a massage.
Sure,
So yeah,
sure.
I I think that could be really helpful. But yeah, I think one of the things that's also like been super stressful is this all happened right before the holidays. Um,
It was
so this is the
a recent event.
yes, so I mean this is all within the last month or two, and
Sure.
I it's just really hard trying to navigate how the holidays are gonna look. Like, are we gonna be with mom? Are we gonna be with dad? How are we gonna make sure that they both feel loved and supported and not forgotten? And going back to just like being the single sibling, or like the only sibling that's single is I feel a lot more of that pressure because I mean my siblings can kind of opt out and be with their families, but like where am I gonna go? Like what am I gonna do? How am I gonna help hold, you know, my parents together and make sure that they're doing okay? I just feel this weight of like that's my responsibility to make sure that they're taken care of during the holidays.
Mhm. Well, are there ways in which um, you can make that not be solely your feeling compelled to be that person to share the weight?
Um,
Who else might be able to bear that weight with you?
I mean, I have some really good friends, like really close friends that I'm grateful for. It's just we don't live as close now. But I think I could do a better job at utilizing them a little more and sharing what I'm feeling. And then, of course, just setting boundaries with my parents. And I think, like, I mean, that's the hard part, right? It's like I want to set boundaries, but then I care so much and I feel like I'm hurting them when I'm setting these boundaries because they're not used to having to deal with this kind of boundary. Um, but I think setting boundaries in the long run will be really helpful, um, given the circumstances. It feels really hard right now because I get a lot of backlash, especially from my mom, like guilt tripping from her. But yeah, I have shared a little bit with some of my friends, and it's been helpful to just feel understood and like related to. So I definitely, I think I should reach out to them a little more.
Yeah, we talked earlier about, kind of restoring that joy. Um, and part of what you've shared with me is that you have created some clear boundaries with certain individuals, like with your dad. Um, and you still love your parents. You want what's best for them. You're coming to grips with um, some realities, impending or pending divorce, that you are kind of the central person that your siblings look to, that both your parents are looking to. Um, and so that's a lot. You've carried a major, major load that has changed your life. It's impacting your body. Um, you feel like you're stressed beyond belief because of your schedule. Um, and yet you are one who cares deeply. You want what is best. Um, so again, looking forward, um, what are some specific ways that you can deal with the holiday? Christmas isn't that far out, so that you can actually enjoy Christmas.
Yeah, I think hmm, I think that could play into the intentionality with friends and just leaning on friends a little bit, and maybe setting up some fun like holiday stuff with them. So even if like Christmas Day ends up being a poor day, we can have uh,
Mhm.
a fun day either right before or right after, to kind of balance that out. Um, and I honestly could probably be more open with my siblings and how much weight I feel like I'm carrying and see if they have any uh, helpful tips, or honestly, I think just letting them in a little bit more and allowing them to understand how heavy this feels for me being single and alone and not having like a spouse to counsel with.
Yeah, yeah. It sounds like you're reflecting some of the things that we've learned in terms of nutritional nutrients and being able to ask for what you need, finding your
Yeah,
voice.
yeah, and
And
I don't think I'm the best at that, so
what makes you think that?
um I think it's hard for me to realize when I'm getting overwhelmed. I kind of just take on a lot of roles, and then like I can do a lot, and then it's not until I'm like, oh, I can't like hold my head up very high and I can't move my neck very well, that I'm like, oh shoot, I think I have taken on a lot more than I was capable of actually holding. Like I did it, but like, was it healthy? No. So,
So finding some
yeah.
alternatives,
Yeah.
yeah, alternatives to uh, boundaries. So there's really two things as we've reflected. Um, that you've kind of shared, the weight, the heaviness, the that bag of sack of rocks that are hard to get rid of. Um, but that you've indicated a couple of different ways to help alleviate that. And one is, I won't call it escape, but an opportunity to spend time with friends to restore the joy. And that might be a way of dumping your bucket a little bit, getting rid of some of those rocks. But then at the same time, um, going back to whether it's your siblings or others and just reflecting and being able to ask for what you need for you. Um,
Yeah.
does that does that reflect um, kind of what we've talked about, but also possible path forward for you?
Yeah, I think you nailed that. I think I feel a little more hopeful, and I think I like what you said about restoring joy. I think that's a big thing, where I would love to restore some joy in my life. And I think, yeah, just after this, I would like to just, text a few friends and set up a few more things so I can have things lined up and not get to a point where I feel completely overwhelmed and then don't even have the energy to do that. Um, so just, making a plan, making a list of friends, what we could do, um, could be really helpful. And then also probably scheduling a massage to start off. That I think that could be really helpful just to get to a point where it's like I mean, because it affects my sleep. So, and I think, that plays into a huge part of everything feeling worse is when I'm not getting enough sleep. So I think scheduling a massage could be really helpful. Plus, making that list. And also, I think talking to my siblings is a huge one, and trying to help them see my perspective a little more, and just understand where I'm coming from and the pressure that I feel. And I would hope that by doing that, I'll feel a little more supported and a little less lonely.
A little bit more about how things would change if those things were all in place.
Um, I think I would feel less overwhelmed. I would feel more hopeful, moving forward. And yeah, I would just restore a little bit of joy in my life. Because I wouldn't feel as lonely or isolated in this. So I think one thing that's kind of weird is like it's such a niche situation with my mom and like conspiracy theories. Like it's like who actually relates to this? I mean, and one of the,
Mhm.
some of the few people that can are my siblings. So I think utilizing them would be really helpful.
Right. Um, so, um, what are you going to do?
Um, I think I gotta write out that. Right after I think I'll schedule a massage. I'll look up some massage places, schedule a
Sounds
day.
like a great plan.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to that. It sounds really nice. And then yeah, I'll text some friends and try to get some things lined up, and then I think I'm gonna see a few siblings on Sunday. So on Sunday I'll try to be a little more open with with them about the way I've been feeling, and ask for support. I think that's a huge one, is just asking for support with them. Then I mean also just being consistent, um, with boundaries with my mom. I think that's a big one. And just like I think seeking support, from friends when I do have to set hard boundaries with my mom, because like I said, I feel a little guilty. I feel bad when I like don't answer the phone, or I, tell her I can't go to something, but just doing it anyways, and seeking support from from friends and from my siblings. I think that would be really, really helpful, given, yeah, the guilt that I feel typically.
To share these last like 90 seconds, I can almost sense hope being restored and confidence because you exude confidence even in the midst of the challenges. you desire what is best, and you want what you want. You're trying to please everybody and sacrificing Kim, and you don't have to do that. Um, and your plan to to have those clear boundaries with mom, to find times with friends where you restore the joy, and I think the massage, of course, um, but then also um, just having that crucial conversation with your siblings that says, "This is what I need." Um,
Yeah,
I think um, that will be something that you can reflect. You can it sets a path um,
absolutely.
for you moving forward. Um, so we are drawing to a close in our time together today. Um, so I would ask if when we meet again, we could reflect on these steps that you're planned, and we can kind of start there and just kind of see if you've been able to get rid of some of those rocks, and just kind of evaluate and pray that things are on a more even keel, and go from there. Would that be okay if we kind of pick it up where you are the next time we meet?
Yeah, that sounds great. Thank you.
Okay, wonderful.
Awesome. I think you did great.
Okay,
Yeah, I know that's like kind of a interesting, topic,
right.
very, very niche. So I think you handled it really well. I don't think you broke connection. I felt like you attuned excellently. I feel like I could tell that you really cared about what I was saying, and you could feel it a little bit, and that yeah, you cared about me and what I was saying. So it made me feel safe, um, expanding on thoughts. I think you had some great questions, and you did a good job at like defining some steps that I could take to restore that joy. And I love that you used that. I think you nailed that perfectly, where it was just like, yeah, I'm lacking joy right now, and here's the steps to restore that. I think you were able to ask the right questions and attune right where it led me to figure that out myself. Like you didn't give that advice, uh, but I now have those, the path to that.
So it wasn't too directive.
I don't think so. No,
Okay.
I felt like I was, kind of you were asking the right questions that made me reflect and,
Okay.
come up with those things by myself. So,
Good. Good.
yeah, but you did an excellent, like honestly, I think really, really good job with attuning and just being a really warm presence. And I really appreciated that.
Good. Good.
Yeah.
And anything that where I miss wasn't a tuning, or um, maybe directing or leading.
There's the only one thing that comes to my mind with like constructive feedback would
Mhm.
be there was one question that you asked, but then you added like two other questions. So it was just question stacking.
Oh, yep.
Um,
Okay.
so I think that's the only one where it was like you could have, if you would have just kept it with the one question,
Right.
I could have gone one way, but it was just stacking. But I mean, they were good questions. It's just
Sure.
separating those out a little bit.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I didn't even think about the fact that, oh, I'm asking like three questions all at one time.
Yeah.
So I'm going to look for that. But thanks for thinking of that.
Yeah, of
That's good to
course. And like I said, they're good
good to reflect.
questions. It's just, separating them and not
Yep.
stacking them.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. But
Good.
yeah, I think that's all. I think you did great and I appreciate it. So
Yeah, I'm gonna stop recording here.